Frank Sinatra, with his blue eyes, was the greatest legend of his era. With a voice as smooth as silk and a presence that brightened every room, he was more than just a singer. He was a charming, powerful and mysterious man. Sinatra no solo quiso música, él quiso historia. From smoky nightclubs in Vegas to shiny Hollywood parties, he was always around the biggest stars of the 1960s. But when the final curtain closed in 1998, and Old Blue Eyes was put to rest, something didn't seem right. Even after years of friendships, late-night laughs, and red carpet events, many of his closest celebrity friends were strangely absent from his funeral. No red carpets, no flashes from cameras, just quiet. ¿Qué ocurrió? ¿Y quiénes estaban ausentes en el funeral? Here are 6 well-known actors who were missing when Sinatra made his last appearance. Marlon Brando. While stars like Jack Nicholson, Tony Danza and Tom Selleck came to say goodbye to their friend, 6 actors did not attend Frank Sinatra's burial. This makes us question whether they had a problem with the blue-eyed singer, or if their absence was due to something more personal. Continue watching to discover. On a warm night in LA, Marlon Brando rode his motorcycle to a rest stop, and was suddenly attacked by 3 men with a gun. They pushed him into the back seat of a car, threatened to kill or castrate him, and then just as quickly as they arrived, let him go unharmed. Brando's close friend, Carlo Fiore, said that the actor believed Sinatra was behind the scare tactic. The conflict between these 2 big names in Hollywood wasn't just gossip for tabloids. Few real, it was intense and could have become dangerous. To fully understand the beginning, we have to go back to 1955 when Frank Sinatra, one of the greatest singers ever, and Marlon Brando, one of the most respected actors in film history, appeared together in a musical comedy that changed their relationship forever. The movie being discussed, Guys and Dolls, is a classic combination that promised charm, personality, and classic film appeal. However, what actually happened was less about working together and more about a clash of egos. Set in the busy streets of New York in the 1950s, Guys and Dolls tells the connected stories of 2 very different gamblers. Nathan Detroit, portrayed by Frank Sinatra, is a local organizer of craps games who is in urgent need of a place for his next major win. Nathan is trying to get the money he needs with the help of his loyal friends, Nicely Johnson, played by Stubby Kaye, and Benny Southstreet, played by Johnny Silver. At the same time, he is managing a tricky 14-year engagement to the energetic Adelaide, played by Vivian Blaine, while avoiding the watchful gaze of Lieutenant Brannigan, played by Robert Keith. To get cash quickly, Nathan makes a daring bet with famous gambler Sky Masterson, played by Marlon Brando. He bets that Sky can't get any random woman to fly with him to Havana for dinner. La elección de Nathan. Sarah Brown, portrayed by Gene Simmons, is a dedicated missionary who speaks out against gambling, sin, and temptation. Naturally, sparks fly, chaos happens, and in the midst of dance performances and dice games, both men must face what truly matters in life. While the movie seemed like a fun musical on screen, the atmosphere on set was far from peaceful. Sinatra and Brando did not get along from the very beginning. The conflict wasn't only about people's personalities, it was because of the movie's casting. Sinatra worked hard to get the role of Sky Masterson, which would have allowed him to show off his charm and singing talent. Instead, the studio gave the role to Brando, who, even though he was a great actor, had no experience in music. Sinatra was unhappy. In response, he started calling Brando a hurtful nickname, Mumbles. Brando's quiet way of acting and his unclear speech were often made fun of. However, Brando didn't back down and had his own ways of responding, especially known for his actions during the cheesecake scene. In the beginning of the film, Nathan Detroit eats a piece of cheesecake while talking to Sky Masterson. What should have been an easy situation became a battle right from the start. Brando, aware that Sinatra hated cheesecake, purposely messed up take after take, making Sinatra eat slice after slice. By the end of the day, Sinatra felt nauseous. Filming had to stop, and the next day the scene was filmed again, this time with less tension. However, the message was obvious. Brando could also play unfairly. The feud got worse because, beyond their musical differences, both men strongly disliked each other's abilities, or what they thought were weaknesses. Sinatra supposedly thought Brando lacked the singing ability to lead a musical, while Brando believed Sinatra didn't have the emotional range for a main role. Their dislike became so strong that the two wouldn't talk to each other directly, and used others to send messages between them. Despite the tension, Guys and Dolls continued without major issues. The two actors had little screen time, appearing in only about 3 scenes during the film's 2.5-hour duration. This limited their conflict from disrupting the entire production. The film stayed true to the original Broadway show, but gave the character Nathan Detroit a much bigger role, so that Sinatra could have more time on screen. 3 new songs were added to complete Nathan's character arc, and Sinatra naturally performed each one perfectly. Meanwhile, Brando, even though his singing voice wasn't very strong, gave a strong performance as Sky Masterson. Although his singing was not very strong, Brando's acting skills were still impressive. He danced, he performed well, and he managed to fit in a movie that was probably not his usual style. Still, Sinatra found a way to come out on top years later. 10 years after Guys and Dolls was released, Sinatra recorded his version of Luck Be a Lady, the standout song that Brando first sang in the movie. Sinatra's performance became one of the most memorable in his career, a quiet but strong reminder of who the true king of the music stage was. Their conflict would never fully get better, and they rarely saw each other again. Some think it was simply a difference in styles, while others believe it was about pride, jealousy, and hurt feelings. When Sinatra died, Brando did not go to the funeral. Perhaps it was something left unresolved. Perhaps it was a quiet protest, or perhaps it was the sound of a competition that began many years ago. With just one role, a piece of cheesecake, and 2 men who wouldn't give up. Reagan. Nancy Reagan y Frank Sinatra tenían una amistad que hacía que la gente hablara. It's a mix of politics, Hollywood, and just enough mystery to make people curious. They weren't in a romantic relationship, but their connection was genuine, and somewhat complicated. Sinatra wasn't just another famous person in the crowd. He had a lot of influence, and when Reagan chose to run for governor of California, Frank was right next to her. He arrived, gathered funds, spoke publicly, and said Reagan was the right person for the job. When Reagan campaigned for president, Sinatra did it again, this time with even more style and energy. He didn't just support Reagan, he also helped promote her to the nation. Nancy y Frank se llevaban muy bien. He had charm, confidence, and a bit of attitude. She was graceful, ambitious, and in control. People saw how often she called him directly, and how she smiled a bit more when he entered a room. Sinatra went to the White House several times, and when he did, it was more than just greetings and casual conversation. It felt warm there. They made long phone calls, had private dinners, and spent a lot of time away from cameras. Friends said they felt very at ease with one another. Some thought it was too comfortable. Then the book arrived. In 1991, author Kitty Kelly published an exciting biography that said Nancy and Sinatra were more than just friends. Reunions secretas, moments taken away, pure tabloid treasure. But there was no real evidence, only rumors and tales from unknown sources. Nancy nunca lo menciona. Sinatra tampoco lo hizo. The White House did not say anything. Pero aquí está el gio. When Frank Sinatra passed away in 1998, Nancy Reagan did not attend his funeral. Not even a brief visit. She shared her thoughts, cited her busy schedule, but didn't show up. That silence spoke more than any words could. Eran solo amigos. It's likely. Were their emotions? Perhaps. But whatever they shared was interesting enough to get attention, and private enough to leave questions that no one really answered. Woody Allen. Woody Allen did not go to Frank Sinatra's funeral, and there is a good reason for that. ¿Por qué no asistió? We'll stay to see what happens. Frank Sinatra was one of the best-known singers of the 20th century. His voice was clear, strong, and full of feeling. Behind that calm and self-assured singer was a man with a deep sense of pride and loyalty. He cared a lot about the people around him, especially those he loved. He was known for not giving up when he believed someone had been treated unfairly. Mia Farrow was someone who understood this side of Sinatra very well. Mia was an actress who was married to Sinatra in the early 1960s. Even after their divorce, they remained good friends. Mia once said Sinatra had a tender sadness, meaning he was sensitive and could be hurt easily. She also said he hated injustice, and would get very upset if he believed someone was treated unfairly. This caring side of Sinatra is part of one of the most unexpected stories from his later years. A story about Hollywood, a well-known director named Woody Allen, and a surprising plan for revenge. Mia Farrow and Woody Allen were a couple for over 10 years, beginning in the late 1970s. They were one of the most famous couples in Hollywood. Mia was pretty intelligent, and came from a well-known family. Woody Allen was a skilled filmmaker and comedian famous for creating films about clumsy, anxious characters. Mia and Woody adopted multiple children, including Soon-Yi Previn and Dylan Farrow. Mia also had a son named Ronan, who many thought was Woody Allen's child. At first everything looked normal, but their relationship was actually complicated. Woody Allen was known to have been involved with other women while he was with his partner, but the biggest surprise happened in the early 1990s. In 1992, Mia Farrow found out something really bad. Woody Allen was secretly involved with Soon-Yi Previn, who is Mia's adopted daughter, and is much younger than him. This was surprising and painful for Mia and the whole family. At the same time, there were serious claims that Woody Allen had sexually abused one of Mia's adopted children, Dylan Farrow. These claims created a big scandal. The media was filled with stories and opinions, and many people chose sides. Mia was heartbroken. She felt let down and very hurt. She needed help, and one person she reached out to was Frank Sinatra, her longtime friend and ex-husband. Sinatra was always a faithful friend and a defender. When Mia explained what had happened, he got very angry. People close to Sinatra say that he wanted to take action instead of just talking or complaining. Sinatra had strong ties to influential and risky individuals. He was known to be friends with people in the mafia. These connections provided Sinatra with a level of protection and influence that most celebrities did not have. When Sinatra found out about Woody Allen's betrayal, he supposedly wanted to use his connections to get back at Allen by having him killed. Claro. Frank Sinatra wanted to get the mafia to help him deal with Woody Allen because of the hurt he caused Mia. Although Sinatra had some influence, the mafia bosses did not support his idea. Le dijeron que no, porque killing a well-known movie director like Woody Allen would lead to serious issues for everyone connected to him. It could attract a lot of unwanted attention from the police and the government. The mafia didn't want to risk their power and safety for a personal disagreement, no matter how serious it was. Sinatra's idea never came to life. The fact that he thought about it shows how much he cared for Mia, and how strong his loyalty and honor were. There's another puzzling part to this story. Mia Farrow's child, Ronan. Many people see that Ronan resembles Frank Sinatra, particularly because of his striking blue eyes. Mia Farrow once suggested that Ronan could be the son of Sinatra, not Woody Allen. This idea added more complexity to the family drama, and might help explain why Sinatra was so protective of Mia and her kids. Ronan Farrow is a famous journalist, who has covered many important stories, but the truth about his father is a secret known by only a few. To understand why Sinatra was so angry, it is useful to consider Woody Allen's background. While growing up in a Jewish neighborhood in Brooklyn, he was shy and uncomfortable around girls. He inherited a lack of sociability from his parents, who had so little to say that they once went months without talking to each other. Feeling disconnected from them, Allen stated he would have every meal by himself in a house without books or music. This feeling of disconnection, particularly from his moody, serious mother, who would hit him, set the stage for the tough relationships he had with women later on. Friends from his early life think that the emotional pressure from his relationship with his mother affected his romantic life as an adult. He met his first wife, a kind and small brunette named Harleen, in 1953 when he was 18, and she was 15. Ella fue su primera novia de verdad. Both were virgins when they married 2 years later, but their marriage soon became difficult. Allen's strong desire to win showed even in small matters. He started reading her textbooks when she enrolled in a philosophy course, and even hired a tutor for himself in the subject. His quick success as a stand-up comedian in the early 60s changed everything. At 24, he started a relationship with 21-year-old actress Louise Lasser. Se divorció de Harleen in 1962. Even though she got almost nothing from their 5-year marriage, Allen was soon earning $250,000 a year. Things got worse when, after they broke up, he started using mean caricatures of a nagging wife in his comedy routines. Harleen finally said that, as part of their divorce agreement, he had to stop making fun of her in public. Even David Evanier, who has admired Alan for a long time, recognizes how little attention has been given to Alan's behavior towards women over the years. Mostly, Evanier says, because he's made jokes about it. However, the laughter doesn't get rid of the coldness. For example, Alan never admitted the hurt he caused Mia Farrow when she found explicit photos of Sun Yi in his office. In fact, Evanier says he seems indifferent and unaware of the problem. Even though Alan seemed shy on the outside, he was often motivated by his desires. While working on What's New Pussycat in Paris, he became interested in a costume designer named Vicky Teal. Alan and the director even bet on who could impress her more with the best birthday gift. Alan gave her a pinball machine, and even though she liked both of them, she agreed to keep her promise about the bet. But on her birthday night, she left him for a better opportunity, a charming stranger she had met during lunch. Alan was heartbroken, she later remembered, but as usual, turned the experience into a scene in Manhattan. In 1966, Alan married Lasser, and did 2 stand-up shows on the same day. Evanier thinks they cared for each other, but her depression and his inability to share emotions created challenges in their marriage. By 1969, Alan was already having an affair with Diane Keaton, whom he had cast in his play, Play It Again, Sam. When Lasser discovered the news, she experienced a breakdown, but she later said that she remembers the marriage with affection. Lasser said that Alan may have never found Keaton sexually attractive, whether from bitterness or honesty. In contrast to Lasser, who was Jewish, short, and matched Alan's preferences, Keaton was tall, and typically American. Lasser said he did not feel a strong sexual attraction to her. He has a strong interest in sex, and she did too, but for some reason, he didn't feel that way about her. Despite Keaton's bulimia and Alan's anxieties, he once shouted in a restaurant, when she scraped her fork on a plate. Their relationship lasted 3 years. Evanier suggests that their absence of sexual tension might be the reason why their creative partnership lasted. Keaton would later act in many of Alan's top films. Alan met Farrow in 1979 at a restaurant, where she was eating with Michael Caine and his wife Shakira. Farrow, who is 11 years younger, came from a famous Hollywood family, and was recognized for being strong and determined. She often dated older men, including Yul Brynner and Kirk Douglas. She was already a mother of 6 children, 3 of whom were adopted, including Sun Yi, the daughter of a Korean prostitute. Sun Yi was adopted when she was 7 years old, and at that time, Farrow was married to Andre Provane. While she was with Alan, Farrow took in 2 more children, Moses and Dylan, and had a son, Satchel, who is now called Ronan. It was thought that Ronan was Alan's biological child. Their relationship ended quickly and dramatically. In 1992, Farrow found a stack of pornographic Polaroids of Sun Yi, who was 19 at the time, in Alan's office. Pictures of her with her legs apart. Alan would later say that Sun Yi had replied to someone fatherly. Whether this was an excuse, or just another form of denial, it only made the feeling of betrayal even stronger. Some people think he left the pictures out on purpose, not to get caught, but as a subtle way to admit what he did, without facing anyone directly. Farrow's response was explosive. She allegedly assaulted Sun Yi, sent hate mail to Alan, and left him voicemails with threats. In the weeks that followed, she even gave him a photo of her and the kids with knives and skewers piercing their hearts. In the middle of this emotional confusion, Farrow talked to Frank Sinatra. What she told him is not known, but the timing hints at something important. Sinatra always felt the need to protect Farrow, and now her adopted daughter had been let down by her partner, who might have also betrayed Sinatra in a more personal way. Barbra Streisand. Everyone knows Barbra Streisand, a famous singer, songwriter, actress, and filmmaker, with a career that has lasted more than 60 amazing years. During that time, Streisand has gathered an impressive list of awards, including the rare achievement of winning an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony Award. She is famous for her own hit songs, but she has also worked with some of the best voices in music, including Andrea Bocelli, Celine Dion, and of course Frank Sinatra.
One of Streisand's most loved and touching collaborations was with the famous American singer. Their duet was revealed with Sinatra's Duets album release in 1993, which got fantastic reviews and was an important moment in his career. Duets showed Sinatra singing classic songs with many famous, often younger, artists. It became his only album to reach triple platinum status. Streisand's performance in the song, I've Got a Crush on You, is one of the most memorable moments. Interestingly, Streisand had initially intended to perform the George and Ira Gershwin classic on his own, but when she got the rare chance to sing with the legendary Sinatra, she couldn't turn it down. Most of the duets on the album were recorded separately, with guest artists singing along to Sinatra's previously recorded vocals. I've Got a Crush on You was just like the others. Still, it felt like magic. Even though they didn't share a studio, both Streisand and Sinatra were able to bring real warmth and character to the performance. Streisand playfully added a line, singing, "You make me blush, Francis," while Sinatra made his singing softer with the line, "I have got a crush, my Barbara, on you." What's the outcome? A classic treasure that shines with beauty. Pero Frank Sinatra nunca fue solo una dulce voz. Famous for his bad boy image, his life outside of performances was equally dramatic. In 1938, he was arrested after a fight with his girlfriend, who would later become his wife, at a club. He was also once arrested for seduction and adultery. Su archivo del FBI. There were widespread rumors that he bribed doctors to escape military service during World War II. Even with all the glamour and confidence, Sinatra fought personal struggles. In the 1950s, as his popularity declined and new stars emerged, Sinatra fell into depression. After witnessing young fans cheering for Eddie Fisher, he went home, put his head in the oven, and turned on the gas. He was saved just in time by his manager. His heartbreak over Ava Gardner almost made him consider it again. The two legends worked together, and Sinatra's life combined talent, struggles, and memorable music. And I've Got a Crush on You is just one of the many reminders of that legacy. Sammy Davis Jr. was a famous American singer, dancer and actor. He was part of the Rat Pack, a group of entertainers in the 1960s, known for their charm and talent. Davis was notable for his amazing performances, and his ability to entertain audiences with his singing, dancing, and acting skills. Sammy Davis Jr. met Frank Sinatra for the first time in 1941, well before they became the famous legends we know now. At only 15 years old, Sammy was already performing with the Will Maston Trio, opening for Tommy Dorsey and his orchestra in Detroit. Sinatra, who was 26 years old then, was the main singer for Dorsey's band. Even though they were different ages, the two got along really well right from the start. This unexpected meeting started a friendship that would change both of their lives. 4 years later, in 1945, Sammy arrived at the stage door of Sinatra's CBS radio show in Los Angeles, reuniting with the man who had motivated him. 2 years later, in 1947, Sinatra asked the Will Maston Trio to perform with him at the Capitol Theater in New York for 3 weeks, picking them instead of the well-known Nicholas Brothers. This was important, showing that Sinatra noticed something unique in Sammy and his band. During this time, Sinatra urged Sammy to stop copying other singers, and to use his own voice. This advice was a key moment that helped Sammy discover his unique style. Their friendship became stronger, and Sinatra started to guide Sammy like a mentor. However, their relationship faced challenges due to the difficult realities of the era, particularly racism. In March 1950, Sammy went to watch Sinatra perform at the Copacabana in New York with Buddy Rich by his side. They were shocked and angry when they were refused entry because of Sammy's skin color. When Sinatra found out about this, he insisted that Sammy come back alone the next night, and this time, he was let in. This moment demonstrated Sinatra's loyalty and respect, but it also revealed the harsh racial barriers that Sammy faced. There is a common belief that Sinatra used his power to help Sammy cross the color barrier in Las Vegas. The truth is that by 1954, Sammy had become a star strong enough to break those barriers on his own. Sinatra's help was important, but Sammy's skill and drive were what really made things happen. Life on stage with Sinatra and Dean Martin wasn't always simple for Sammy. The Will Maston Trio's act often made Sammy the focus of racial jokes, and he was often the target of comedy during their shows. Sometimes the joke hurt, but Sammy could take it just as easily. People back then, and even now, are curious about how Sammy remained good friends with men who made jokes about race so freely. Some think the humor was meant to make fun of racism instead of supporting it, a kind of strong friendship created during a difficult time. Sinatra and Martin were recognized for standing up against bigotry in their own style, and Sammy's friendship with them lasted his whole life. As time went on, the mentor-mentee relationship grew into a bond, similar to brotherhood. In 1980, Sammy said to a reporter, "I love Sinatra. I really liked the man. At one point in my life, I was his little mascot, but I'm not anymore." That simple sentence showed how much he had grown, and how their relationship had changed over time. By the late 1970s and early 80s, Sammy had become a star, appearing in big movies and TV specials. In 1979, he was featured on Sinatra, The First 40 Years, a tribute to Frank's famous career. In 1980, Sammy acted with Dean Martin in the popular movie Cannonball Run, playing Las Vegas criminals pretending to be priests. The film was a huge success, ranking as the 6th highest grossing movie of the year, and demonstrated Sammy's talents beyond just singing and dancing. 3 years later, they came back for Cannonball Run 2, which had a fun cameo by Sinatra and starred people like Shirley MacLaine and Henry Silva. In the 1980s, the trio got together sometimes for charity concerts and casino openings, showing fans their special connection. In 1987, after a successful 3-night performance at the Greek Theatre with Sammy, Sinatra suggested having a reunion tour with Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr. Dean was unsure, starting to relax into retirement at 70, but the trio's announcement grabbed attention all over the world. This tour is different from their regular performances in small clubs and casino lounges. They will be playing in big arenas that can hold 10,000 to 25,000 fans, which is a big change for artists who are used to smaller audiences. The Together Again tour started on March 13, 1988, at the Oakland Coliseum, but things quickly went wrong, struggled with the lyrics and the setup, and it was obvious he wasn't interested in the late-night party lifestyle that Sinatra preferred. After only 5 shows, Dean returned home and went to the hospital for a kidney issue. Without Dean, Sammy and Frank continued for 11 more shows before pausing the tour. Liza Minnelli was then brought in to take Dean's place. The tour was renamed The Ultimate Event and started again in September 1988. It continued into 1989, with stops in the US, Japan, Australia, and Europe, finally ending in May. Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, and Sammy Davis Jr. last performed together on November 13, 1989, at a big celebration for Sammy's 60th birthday. The event was not just a party, it was a goodbye. Sammy's health was getting worse, and they didn't realize it would be their last time together. The special was shown on TV and later won an Emmy for the Best Variety, Music or Comedy Special, which was a great tribute to the trio's famous friendship. Sammy Davis couldn't go to Sinatra's funeral because he died in 1990. Through good times and bad, laughter and struggles, racism and friendship, Sammy Davis Jr. and Frank Sinatra had a bond that was deeper than just music and fame. Dean Martin. Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin's friendship was famous, but not without its flaws. Beneath the exciting image of the Rat Pack's wild nights and loud cheers, there was always a sense of tension. Sinatra's love for trouble often pulled Dean into situations he would rather stay away from. A well-known event that shows this situation happened in the early morning of June 8, 1966, at the famous Polo Lounge of the Beverly Hills Hotel. Frank and Dean were celebrating Dean's 49th birthday. They were joined by friends, including Frank's old friend Jilly Rizzo, and 3 women, 2 of whom were black. The night changed for the worse when Frederick Wiseman, a businessman sitting close by, got upset at the entertainers' loud laughter and rude language. When Wiseman asked them to be quiet, people shouted ethnic slurs, tempers rose, and chaos broke out. No one really remembered who started the fight, but during the chaos, someone picked up a telephone from a booth that agents and producers used to make deals, and hit Wiseman on the head. He fell and broke a glass table, then was taken to the ICU with a serious skull injury. The police quickly arrived and started asking questions to the well-known guests. Dean, who tries to stay away from conflict and drama, said he didn't notice what happened. In private, he told his daughter that Sinatra got angry, but he didn't directly blame him for the attack. The incident revealed the complexities of their friendship. Dean was a family man who often wanted peace and quiet. He once even called the police on his own party just to get some rest. In contrast, Sinatra enjoyed the excitement of fame, attention, and sometimes chaos. The tension wasn't always obvious, but it was there under the surface. Sinatra's strong personality sometimes caused problems that Dean had to handle quietly. Even with these difficulties, their connection lasted through many good and bad times. But as time passed, life took them on separate paths. When Frank Sinatra passed away, people noticed that Dean Martin was missing, but those who were familiar with the story understood why. Dean had already passed away, unable to say a final goodbye to the friend with whom he had shared many chaotic and unforgettable nights. Which name on the list surprised you the most? Please share your opinions with us in the comments below. No olbid star-like, comparti y suscribirt, para más. Also, click the video that appears on your screen. You will have fun.